All right, all gas, no brakes. It is the Wednesday night delight, hitting it hard, hitting it fast. It is the Maddie Daddy, and we're doing quick hitters, baby. We are doing 2021 busts. We're talking the next big thing. And all the way from the Fantasy Alarm, writes for the New Yorker. He is in it, on it, and about it. I'm talking Mr. Big Time, baby. Roto Buzz guy himself, Howard Bender. What's up, big dog?
Maddie Daddy, look who's bringing me on to the show here, man. Dude, thankful very much for bringing me on here, man. Great pleasure to get a chance to finally talk to you in person. We've communicated a little bit on the old Twitter sphere, but this is going to be great, man. This is, I tweeted this out, man. This is the ultimate superpowers team up right now. This is Hulk Hogan. This is Randy Savage.
The mania meets the madness. Freak out, freak out. Yes, sir, dude. I am beyond pumped to talk not just wrestling, but we got it down there on the screen. Busts. Bust alert. We're getting ready for all these redrafts. People are thinking in Dynasty, just best ball, everything. We're going to talk a couple of guys that maybe you should be maybe a warning sign, do not go. But before we get fantasy, everybody has questions. They've heard the hype, the hoopla. Mr. Bender, next big thing, baby. Fill everybody in what this is and what it's all about. Everybody's dying to know.
All right. Well, so this was brought to me by BJ Levin, who is a television producer. It was the idea that he had about this and doing like a fantasy football related. He's in the Scott Fish Bowl. He's totally into fantasy football. And he wanted to see if there was some way where we could kind of do a competition between aspiring fantasy analysts who not only compete in a regular PPR 12-team league, but also compete in challenges throughout each week. It's sort of like if you remember the show The League?
Yes.
Okay, so if you combine that with like Big Brother or Survivor, that's what it's all about. It's every single week there's going to be a new mentor who's going to assign a challenge to everybody, whether it's writing a 500-word article, recording a podcast, interviewing somebody from the industry, whatever there's going to be different challenges. And based on everybody's performance each week, me, BJ, the mentor, we kind of grade everything out and we announce, a winner. And what you win, though, is like there are different powers and different, privileges that you get. It could be 1 week where, we say, all right, well, you have 3 weeks where you can, pick 1 week where you can take the number one waiver priority.
Ooh.
Right? Or you get an extra $500 in fab cash that you have to use within these first 3 weeks. Whatever the case may be, it's going to give you some sort of an advantage in the league in which you're competing in. So it's showing your chops. It's showing that you can do videos, that you can write articles, that you can podcast, all of that. And, the whole thing for me was I've been known in this industry about mentoring young talent. That's something that's very important to me. I see a lot of stuff that goes on, on social media where a lot of people are more into the likes and the hot takes and the attention and how many followers do I have. And there's less analysis in the game. So the opportunity here presents itself to take 12 aspiring analysts and teach them really what it takes. I'm a 20-year veteran of this industry.
Exactly.
Grinding every single day, when I needed to. And now, it's a lot, the landscape is a lot different now than it was when I first started. But the fact that, guys like me and Adam Ronis and Todd Zola and, Jeff Erickson, Chris Liss, like all of these guys just want to be able to work with everybody and kind of give them some guidance.
That's experience that, you can't teach. That's things that, you said 20 years. That's a lot of people are in this 2 or 3 years. The game's constantly evolving, but having the experience of articles, podcasts, video, that's huge.
Yeah. And so that was, that was what was important. That was the important aspect for me. It was really about finding people who really wanted to make themselves better. Now, obviously, listen, if you're, the grand prize is a paid gig with a major network,
right?
Who doesn't love that? But here's the thing. This is what I love about it, is that there are no losers in this whole thing, because let's face it, you might not win the whole thing, but who's to say that I don't turn around and say, wow, really loved your shit, man. Sorry. Can I curse here?
It doesn't matter. It's off season.
I really love what you did. I'd like to give you a job with Fantasy Alarm.
Right.
Right. And I mean, that's the thing, is that you're building your brand, you're exposing who you are as an analyst to a pretty wide audience. And I guarantee you that that a number of people from this from this top 12 that we end up announcing, they're going to end up with jobs in this industry, and they're going to be, paid, and they're going to be grinding, and they're going to be enjoying doing what they love.
Well, and that's the thing. It's a foot in the door. It's a chance for you to be on a stage that you can showcase your talents. Everything is a process. Yeah. But if you can just learn from others and just kind of absorb information, this is a hot spot to be, man. I think a lot of people are excited, chewing at the bit. Everybody sent in videos. It's the talk of the talk on social media. And like you said, Twitter can be kind of hit or miss, but being able to actually interact with veterans in the game and learn, that's a huge plus. So, dude, we're pumped. I'm pumped. Everybody's pumped. The next big thing, freak out. Dude, and I'm about to freak out on a couple players. I liked where you went when I talked bust. I like stirring the pot a little bit. I like people hear so much of the same thing. So, a little bit of everything in there. So, dude, let's get started. I'm going to go first with one of mine, and then you can kind of fill me in on what you're thinking here if I'm just way offline, because that's what's cool. It's all an opinion with information, but it can be swayed. We know as much as we know. So let's get it down to the nitty-gritty, man. Joe Mixon. This is a guy who everybody's kind of ready to give him back a chance. Had a couple years. He had some flashes. But to me, nothing screams more bust than Joe Mixon. Sneaking around the RB1 territory right there, 13, 14. Oh, all those big names are off the board. Are you getting a value or are you getting fooled? To me, I'm getting fooled. I don't like this Bengals offense. I don't like the offensive line, the blocking. Open field, power blocking, you name it, they don't do a good job with it. Situation, opportunity, okay, you can have me on that. But a guy who's nursed injuries, continuous, has played for an offensive line that just hasn't shown up week to week. And if you're running 3.2 yards per carry, something just not good last year. Am I just being too hard on Joe Mixon, or is this a value that you think can pay off?
It's kind of funny because, the offensive line dealt with some injuries, right? Billy Price was their draft pick, and he got knocked out. And I'm blanking on the name of their left tackle. He got knocked out also.
Yeah.
And so there is talent on the offensive line. Like here's the thing, and here's what's rough for me also, because I was all in on Mixon last year. And then all of a sudden I saw this scheme in action and the spread offense and how many times they went with an empty backfield. And while, yeah, sure, okay, you can find one of those nice, short, quick, out routes or a little safety valve where Joe Burrow will dump it off to Joe Mixon, but Joe Burrow doesn't want to dump it off to Joe Mixon. Like Joe Burrow wants to sail it downfield. And now that he's got Jamar Chase, I mean, dude, right? You saw Wedding Crashers, right?
Yes.
You remember when Isla Fisher was trying to talking to Christopher Walken, she wanted to get Vince Vaughn to come to their house, and she's like, when she's stomping around or whatever, like that was Joe Burrow with the Cincinnati Brass. It totally was. He was like, I want my Jamar Chase. I want my Jamar Chase. So, so that it's a pass heavy scheme. I like, but I don't love Joe Mixon. I'm willing to give the offensive line another look just based on the health issues that they have and the talent that could be there. But I'm more of like a late second round than I am like if I'm taking them. I don't necessarily know if I want to take them on the turn right now.
I think that's where people are kind of in flux. Do you take one of these receivers that are a high-end one? Because receivers tend to fall for the most part in PPR into the first. So that is where you're having to gamble on a guy like Mixon. I'm just not sure if I'm on board with. Granted, they did have injuries on the O-line, but 29th ranked run block or 27th run block, 29th in stuffed runs. This just screams to me that defense isn't going to be good enough. You're going to have to play catch up. And even though the opportunity is there, no way, Jose.
I got you, man. I can't really argue against it. I can say I can give an opportunity. I can give the benefit of the doubt. They did get rid of Gio Bernard. So maybe he does catch a few more passes, but
then does he stay healthy?
Does he stay healthy? And then you've got Chris Evans behind him too, Travion Williams. So
man, Travion Williams, he was one of those that when he was coming out, everybody was kind of hype on him in the scouting and just nothing ever. And then who was the guy that was a beast at Oklahoma, got hurt all the time? It was like a torn ACL every year. I can't slipping my mind. But, yeah, just a weird situation in Cincinnati. I'm staying away from it. Dude, I want to go ahead and get to the madness that is the mania. Laviska. This guy is everybody's, like, the second coming of Christ. So, Phil, when you said this, I just cracked up because I love I never hear slander. And I don't even know if this is slander, but the hype and the upside, everybody is on board. So.
Well, that's the thing is I don't really get the hype. And, this is one of the things that kind of gets under my skin a little bit when it comes to fantasy football analysis because, anybody can sit there and say, oh, yeah, this is the guy you want to take off of waivers because he's got the opportunity, blah, blah, blah. There are very few analysts who look into schemes and offensive coaching systems. I write an article in the Fantasy Alarm NFL Draft Guide every single year, breaking down all 32 schemes, offensive and defensive, and figuring out who matches up the best. So I look at what Urban Meyer's doing in Jacksonville right now. They signed Marvin Jones. They've got DJ Chark. Okay, fine. Now they're using Travis Etienne, and they're lining him up as a receiver. They're utilizing him in the slot a whole lot more. Well, they're not going to be able. Yes, there's going to be that spread offense that they're going to use, and they're going to want to try and send receivers out all over the place and kind of confuse the defense. Maybe break it open a little bit, open up some running lanes for Trevor Lawrence. Maybe sit there and establish a little bit of a running game with James Robinson, just to open up for some play action, but. In like a standard 3 receiver set, if you're going to line up ETN, in the slot, then where is Laviska Shenault going to play? Because he's not going to play ahead of Marvin Jones and he's not going to play ahead of DJ Chark. Now, Chark could get hurt. Sure. That's happened in the past. But I mean, why are we sitting here now all of a sudden, turning around with another offensive scheme, a new coach, is Laviska Shenault really going to be? It's like when everybody was raving about Corey Davis coming out of Western Michigan, right? Oh, the guy's amazing. He's awesome. He's great. He falls into a situation in Tennessee that's not good for him. It's not conducive for him to be a productive wide receiver. And so all of a sudden he crapped the bed.
Right.
This is what I'm worried about with Laviska Shenault. I just don't see the targets or opportunity coming his way enough in this system for him to be like even like a 9th or a 10th round pick where, some people are letting him, or scooping him up.
It's crazy to think, I think that's the big mystery of the offseason is Urban Meyer is what he did in college at Ohio State and other situations going to transpire. And then you bring in somebody like everybody says Laviska can do it all. But you got Tebow there who could steal short yardage runs. You got Robinson. You got all these weapons. So you're really just if you're in a flex situation, what makes you want to start Laviska over like a Marvin Jones? For a quarterback who targeted the outside receivers in college. So just a lot of question marks. I get that one. I
don't even want him in best ball.
Yeah.
Like, best ball, at least I'll take Deshaun Jackson over Laviska Shenault in best ball.
Okay.
Because I know that there'll be like 2 or 3 games where D-Jax will blow up, right? I can't say that there's any game whatsoever where I can guarantee that Laviska Shenault's going to blow up and be worthy.
Well, and then you see where people are drafting Laviska Shenault compared to Marvin Jones. It's like night and day difference. Why would you want to spend that kind of draft capital on a guy? Yeah, I don't see it, but I'm not going to argue it too much because I'll just get roasted more than I already do. Laviska, not this year. I'm down with you. Another one. I think everybody's kind of don't know what to do with this guy because he is such a freak. This is the ultimate athlete. But I just do not like the Detroit Lions situation. This is not a good offense. It wasn't a good offense last year. The last 3 years, they have not put points on the board. They keep bringing in RB talent to compete with Swift. Jamal Williams, they got Gurley in for a visit. Kerryon Johnson's getting passing work last year. I don't want to say this is like a Josh Jacobs situation where we expected all this from Jacobs and then his role was limited, but I'm just not sure that DAndre Swift, granted he does catch passes, but I don't know if he is going to be the safest breakout pick that everybody's expecting. What are your thoughts on Swift here?
Well, I mean, what was the second name on my bust list that I sent to you? It was
Swift
DAndre Swift. Listen, they turn around. So you've got Dan Campbell is the new head coach. Right. And he's a motivator. He's a rah guy. He's also a former tight end. There are certain guys who are just they're motivators. He's not somebody who builds a scheme. He wants a scheme built to favor the strengths of his team. But, here we go with Detroit. Anthony Lynn is now your head coach. Anthony Lynn loves to rotate in running backs. They bring in Jamal Williams, who I used to call Jamalful Williams because I don't think he's that talented. But they bring in Williams. Here's the thing. If Detroit's – listen, they got Brashad Perriman – and Tyrell Williams, those are their 2 top wide receivers. They trade Matthew Stafford and pick up Jared Goff, but they get all this draft capital. It's a rebuild, right? That's all it is. So this is a team. The defense is horrible, all right? And I think that they're going to play from behind a ton. You're just not going to see the touches for DAndre Swift that much. And here's the thing. Yeah, he's the pass catcher. And they'll be playing from behind, and maybe you get a bunch of check downs from Jared Goff. But if you're rebuilding, like, would you want to take the future of your franchise and subject him to a whole mess of unnecessary punishment and poundings that he's going to get? Teams love to blitz against Jared Goff. So whether you're handing the ball off or he's passing, the defense is coming after you.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just think that Lynn is going to rotate in Jamal Williams enough that it's going to eat into the time for DAndre Swift. And as a result, if you are going to sit there and kind of grind out the clock at any point, let's say miraculously Detroit's ahead, they're going to do it with Jamal Williams. They're not going to do it with DAndre Swift. I agree with you, man. I think that this is far from the breakout. Dynasty, I'm all in. Give me. Redraft, no way.
God, I love your entertainment, dude. And 3 and outs. This is not going to score a lot of points. This is a team that is going to have to pass. That's great. But you got Jamal Williams who can pass block as well. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to be, these are going to be 3rd and 15s because Goff's getting sacked. These are going to be short check downs if you're lucky, if Goff isn't getting killed every down. So that's, I'm right there with you. You got to put up points to be an RB1. In my opinion, I don't see Swift getting enough touchdowns. He might get some work, but it's still not, no way, Jose. Dude. We're flying.
Doesn't matter what your
through.
name is. It's still no way.
No way, dude. And another one. This is another one that's everybody's kind of we've heard of Lawrence, but before Lawrence, it was Tua, man. Tua was the belle of the ball in college. Crazy, horrific injury, but everybody's hype on this offense now. This is an offense bringing in Will Fuller, Waddle. You're hearing the train or the OTAs about him throwing it deep. Everybody's getting excited, but it just doesn't feel like the Patriot way. So I want you to kind of fill us in on Tua here, because this is another good one that everybody, they see QB2 and they don't know. They want to believe he's a QB1. Fill us in on Tua, baby.
I'm not in on him. I didn't see enough game-to-game growth out of him last year. He looked overmatched. He looked nervous. He looked like he panicked in a number of situations. God, I remember, I have it burned in my brain of just this, he was like getting ready to run out of bounds because, he didn't want to get hit. What?
Was it the playoffs where he ran out of bounds short when they were trying to go for it? I remember that too.
No, it was another one where I think he was like running out of bounds and he saw he was about to get hit and he threw the ball forward like he was going to try and just throw it out of bounds so that he wasn't going to get tagged with a fumble, right? And I mean, he like right into the chest of a defender who like fumbled the ball out of bounds or whatever, but there's just not enough there for me for Tua. Now you're taking Tua, who worked in Chan Gailey's offense last year, and now Gailey's not there anymore. So you've got a new offensive coordinator. I think that they've got. Is this the team that has the co-offensive coordinators? I haven't.
It's possible.
Jumped into it where I think they've got like a passing game guy and a running game guy. To me, it's going to confuse him. He's not going. He's just not going to. He's not going to get it. And listen, you got him Jalen Waddle so that he had a little bit of a security blanket. I like Myles Gaskin. I'm not a fan of the rest of this receiving core. I don't necessarily know. I mean, if Will Fuller can stay healthy, the dude's just a deep threat. He's nothing more than that. Like, he's not a guy who's going across the middle there. If that's going to be Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki, okay, fine. But I haven't seen enough into it. I didn't see enough improvement. And let's face facts. Like, obviously last year, Brian Flores was like, all right, no matter what we're doing, after the bye week, we're coming back and Tua's starting and we're building the future. We're seeing what we've got in him. And twice they pulled him to put Fitzpatrick back in because they were like, damn, he's not going to win the game for us. And we could miss the playoffs because of that. And I think that's very, very telling in my eyes that a coach just says this quarterback was not ready.
It's just a weird situation, man, because Tua had that hype and you heard tank for Tua and everybody, some of these pros just aren't what we think they are because we see that college tape and you see, the skepticism, but I don't know what to do with them. So usually when I don't know what to do, I'm not touching them. That's kind of where I'm at. It's just too many questions. Like you said, he's getting benched multiple times. This is a team where they were productive in the run game last year. And you're trying to make the playoffs, keep the defense keep the other offense off the field, pick up those first downs. You got RB depth. Dude, that was bust. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Tua, Swift, LaVisca, and Mixon. Don't touch them with a 10-foot pole. That is your fantasy advice, your quick hitters. And now we're getting to the part of the show. It's the off season. We've been experiencing the grind. There's a little bit of jet lag. But as everybody knows with the Maddie Daddy, you see the sign up there. I am a wrestling aficionado, and I have found somebody who loves that old school, that gaga, those yum-yums. Old school wrestling. So many of us are into it. Dude, Howard, you were telling me you were at WrestleMania 1. That is the mecca of professional wrestling and the creation of it. Kind of fill us in on, like, you as a child, like, how this all worked out for you.
So I grew up in New York City and, Madison Square Garden, obviously the mecca, right? I mean, so it was a lot of WWF. And when I was like 10, 11 years old, I mean, this was like, my peak wrestling years were probably, I would say probably like 1980 through like 85, 86. Maybe that's like, kind of when it was like, I was like 16 and whatever. And then I started, having other interests. I got a job. Well, I got a job working at a friend's, dad's Italian restaurant as a busboy. Good. And so, it was that all of a sudden at the restaurant that I worked at, all the bouncers, all the door guys from all the clubs downtown in New York would always come and eat. And so I met them all. So there I was 16 years old. And the limelight was super hot in New York City. And I would get like the Goodfellas entrance, right? Because these guys knew me and they also knew I was underage because I was working at the busboy there. But, during those, that time, the early 80s and whatever, I mean, it was so much fun. Now, being in New York, it was all locked into the WWF, Vince McMahon Sr. and, everything that they were doing there. But there was a newsstand right on the corner of where I lived that carried all the wrestling magazines. So I knew NWA, AWA, Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. My neighbor got, he had TBS before we did. So I was watching all the old TBS stuff there. And I totally got into it. And then, obviously, what was it, 83 when Rocky 3 came out?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it was Hulk Hogan as Thunder Lips. And then I remember I was sitting there babysitting for the kid two floors down, watching when Hulk Hogan made his return to the WWF. He used to be he was a heel.
Right. Yeah.
They brought him back as the good guy to dethrone the Iron Sheik. And so I'm watching that match. I'm going bonkers over it. And there was zero chance with WrestleMania being in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, no way.
That I was like, there is no way I am missing this opportunity. And I said I gave up birthdays, Hanukkah gifts, everything like that. All I wanted to do was go to WrestleMania. And lo and behold, the one good thing that my dad did was he took me to WrestleMania.
Dude, what an experience, not only to go to the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. I'm a big Knicks fan, so it's been on the bucket list. And anytime a sporting event, but your dad leveled up that day. That's a memory you'll have the rest of your life. Is your first really big wrestling event, I'd say. Dude, that's legendary status.
Well, the cards at Madison Square Garden were always it was monthly at Madison Square Garden during those years.
That's right, because the territory, I got
right. It. And those monthly cards were the best cards, for the month. They would tour around all the other places. Then all of a sudden they'd come to Madison Square Garden, and it was the Wild Samoans against Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch for the tag title. Tito Santana fighting Don Morocco for the Intercontinental. It was just that was the heyday right there. I loved it, man. I loved it.
Dude, and you said you got to experience the territory. So you saw NWA, AWA. We were talking about world-class championship wrestling.
Oh, that was so good.
Just so many different, it was all larger than life. But the lifestyle of a wrestler back in the day, you're never seeing your family. You don't have a GPS. You literally go to the gym, you go to the bar, and you go hit the weights, and you're living. That's your life year round. So, dude, I figured now would be a good time. Let's play a little this or that, because there are so many wrestlers. We could talk all night and all day. Before we start, do you have one cool wrestling story of like meeting a wrestler? You get to party with any of them? Anything like that?
I never got to party with any of them, right? You and I talked before this show. I have a huge affinity for the Fabulous Freebirds, right?
Thank you.
I was ringside at Madison Square Garden one time, and I got to high five, which I was like the only kid who wanted to high five Michael P.S. Hayes, Terry Bam Bam Gordy, and little Buddy Roberts, right? Everybody else is all in, right? So and they came to the WWF as the heels also. I would watch them as the heels against the Von Erichs down in Dallas, right? And so, but I never got a chance to like really like hang out with anybody. But I was at the match in Madison Square Garden where Rowdy Roddy Piper I was sitting ringside too. Pile drived Jimmy Superfly Snuka on the steel chair on the concrete floor. Ooh. And that actually was a legit injury where it cracked the vertebrae in the neck of Superfly.
Superfly couldn't read. Could you believe that? How do you go through life and you can't even read the match cards? You can't read a menu to eat. You can't. That's tough stuff right there.
Dude, plus, you come off the top rope so good though.
Oh, yeah, brother, dude. So I have Michael Hayes, Duke stories for the rest of my life. But growing up on Pensacola Beach, where he's from, or spent a lot of time when he wasn't on the bad street, I'd party with him. I'm, in my 20s. I'm a bellman valet. He pulls up, Ice House, Jaeger. He's already partying, larger than life. We go to the bar. My wife's pregnant. He's like, just come to the bar a little bit with me, getting me in trouble. He's getting drunk, having me go to his car, and he records music. And one of the songs was, "Why Can't All the Children Pray in School?" And he's sitting there crying, and I'm like, what are we doing here, dude? But okay. Hey, Matt, you shave my back for $20? I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll shave your back for $20. Like, I'm hustling, baby. But, dude, I'm glad you said Freebirds. And you mentioned the Highlander. Dude, Highlander by itself is amazing. Then you add that. McLeod. Oh, dude, I'm pumped. Like I said, it's just cool having these conversations with fantasy analysts that have that wrestling vibe or that piece of them. It just can't always come out when we're talking talk in season. Dude,
no,
this or that. This or that. Yeah. Macho Man or Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Man, here's the thing is that, I would watch with like some buddies of mine every so often when like Stone Cold was, gaining popularity, and all of a sudden it became cool to root for the heel. And I'll give him credit for that. But dude, the Macho Man, right?
The best.
Come on. Like that dude was unbelievable. Whether he was a good guy or whether he was a heel, he still had that persona that was just like you absolutely loved him. You absolutely loved him. And then when he get the crazy eyes,
yeah,
come on.
Macho Man, yeah. Nobody does it better. I'm right there with you. The cream of the crop. All right, dude, you talked Hogan. Let's talk about the other guy that everybody kind of poops on, rightfully so, but as a kid, shaking the ropes to the heavens, the Ultimate Warrior, and Hulkamania, dude. Not Hollywood. Eat your prayers, say your vitamins, what you gonna do? Hit me with it, Howard.
I love that. Eat your prayers, say your vitamins.
You get it. Don't do that.
That's the best, man. No, come on. Because you know that there were times where Hogan probably said that too.
Oh yeah, he just kept going.
I mean, he was so larger than life, and I mean, listen, anybody who's finishing move could get the crap beaten out of him the entire time, and then he starts to shake, and then he starts to hulk up, right? And I'm sorry, but the leg drop could very well be the worst finishing move of all time, and yet it was Hogan. And
you do that finger wave, it's over, baby.
Oh, and the it was just, there was, listen, I love the Ultimate Warrior. I thought he was great for, what it was. He was like the start of really all of a sudden, you got like the ripped steroid dudes, with these just, but Hogan was just, it was the personality. And again, I remember him when he was coming through Mid-Atlantic Wrestling and through the AWA, and he was a heel. He was a bad guy. He used to have, brawls with Andre the Giant back when Andre had the big fuzzy hair and, but I got to go with Hogan over the Ultimate Warrior.
Same here, man. Warrior was cool as a kid. Obviously, I'm rocking a little face paint, but not a Warrior guy. All right, this is one from rewatching wrestling pay-per-views and all these things. You find out wrestlers that kind of have it that maybe you didn't think of as a kid. We got Goldberg and the Big Boss Man from Cobb County, Georgia, swinging that nightstick. This is it should be a runaway with Goldberg, but any kind of boss man hype, man, he's my dude.
I don't know if I can give him any real hype. I mean, Boss Man was kind of like, like
just a character, yeah.
Ted DiBiase was like big in the AWA, right? And then he comes to the WWF and he's the $1 Million Man and whatever. To me, like those were the guys who competed for the Intercontinental title. They didn't compete for the heavyweight championship.
How about Goldberg, former wrestler, undefeated streak? Like this is a huge deal.
That was amazing, right?
Dude. I
got to go Goldberg here, hands down. Boss Man, I mean, as he's like a character, as like the third or fourth guy in a 6 or an 8 man tag. Okay,
maybe. I'll take it. It's Boss Man, yeah, dude. Goldberg, I mean, coming in there, one of WCW's only homegrown talent when everything started popping off in WWF. Yep. I think that kind of carried him off a little bit more. Last one, dude. This is the Attitude Era 101s. You got the NWO. I didn't put Hogan in there because we already hit on him, but you also have early Triple H and Shawn Michaels, man, the Montreal Screwjob, DX, just the whole degenerate. It was cool to kind of say suck it and do these different crotch chops. Like never happened nowadays, but back then you could do that and probably get in trouble and it was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, that was, to me, DX was the WWF's answer to, like, Stone Cold Steve Austin being super popular in the in the NWA or WCW, whatever it was, what it was, where it was, like, cool to root for the bad guy at that point. And I think that's kind of what it was. I always look at Shawn Michaels. Wasn't he, like, tag partners with Marty Jannetty?
The Rockers.
The Rockers. They didn't do it. Now, the NWO, I mean, come on. I mean, we know Kevin Nash is Diesel from the WWE. Right. That dude's just a beast. And he's just like, they just exuded cool. Now, Scott Hall had his problems with alcohol and, there were a bunch of problems
when he was in the mat, dude.
What's that?
I said, when he was on, he was on. Hey, yo, and surveys. And
do you remember when he was Razor Ramon?
The bad guy. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, listen, when the NWO invaded the outsiders of Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and they invaded the WCW, I mean, that was the height of storytelling in professional wrestling. That, to me, was absolutely fantastic. To have this, like, group of outlaws come in, beat up all the nice guys, even come into a certain point where they where all of a sudden the 4 horsemen were suddenly good guys because they were like fighting up against, the NWO. Weird. It was crazy.
Yeah. Just NWO put wrestling back on the map after the Hogan era and the Andre the Giants and stuff. Mm-hmm. Dude, you killed it. Thank you for coming on, treating us to these amazing treats of fantasy football bus. Get them out of here. We're not talking bus. We're not talking wrestling. We're getting off, dude. Howard, fantasy alarm, next big fantasy thing. You're anywhere and everywhere. Sirius XM, baby. You're all over the place. It has been a pleasure, my treasure. Thank you for everything.
Matty Daddy, man, the pleasure's all on this side right now, man. It was great to get to sit and hang with you. Talk about pulling down the old school memories there too. Dude, and then we got to crap on a bunch of players that should be crapped on.
And that's the best part is, sometimes when you're typing, you don't get your point across. People blow it off. But when you can show a video and be like, hey, listen, I told you so, man. This is what I'm doing, and I love every minute of it. Dude, till next time, like I said, keep grinding, walk before you can run, and enjoy the ride. Howard, it has been a pleasure, my brother. Later.
Thanks so much for having me, man.